Renate, you there?
I'm here, Max.
Okay, great. With that, normally what we would do when we do these things is we would do a Zoom where we would share the screens, but we just have to do the voice thing because I'm not totally presentable yet. So in any event, Renate, why don't you share with everybody, because you've got a fascinating story that all by itself is incredibly motivational. I mean, so how did you first get into network marketing? Why don't you share with everybody, your story? Because you're an amazing leader. You're an amazing person.
Well, thank you so much for that, Max. It's just such a pleasure that I get to work with you again. I think it's been about 10 years that we had our first introduction, and you made such an important impact on my life, and I will be eternally grateful to you for that, for sure. But yeah, it's quite a story. I actually was born and raised in Germany, and I lived there for 32 years. My father, unfortunately, died at the age of 64 from a heart attack very unexpectedly when I was about 20 years old. And I needed to make money for the family. So I started my own business in Germany. It was a brick and mortar business. And I literally worked 24/7. And I'm not kidding when I say that. And I ran my own business from scratch, building it from scratch, not really knowing what I was doing, falling forward every day.
What kind of a business was it?
It was kind of a marketing agency. And, that's all I knew. I had the equivalent of a 2-year college degree at the time in Germany. And I was always fascinated with helping people move whatever they were doing forward. So I was always very curious about what made people successful. And I did more or less instinctively what you were teaching us today. I connected with people and successful people, and I listened to their story. And then I kind of figured out what I could do to help them do whatever they did better. And that kind of developed into a business for me. And I did that for 11 years. I had a real estate building where I worked out of, which was worth about $1 million at the end. And I had lots of equipment. I had employees. I had, of course, tax accountants and attorneys to help me set everything up. And I did it for 11 years. And then I ended up in the hospital for 6 weeks because I was absolutely physically exhausted. And my doctor told me if I keep doing what I'm doing, I will not live. And I had to make a change. Well, I also had at that point in time a 7-year-old son. And so I decided to go on a 6-month vacation and let my staff run my business. Well, my best friend at the time was from Portland, Oregon, of all places. And so I told her that I needed to get away. And I had thought of France because I had a little bit of French in high school, but I never took English in high school because who needs English, right? I loved my Latin teacher. So I had 8 years of Latin, but I didn't speak one word of English. So when she told me to go to Portland, Oregon, I said, no, I don't speak English. I don't know anybody. And she said, oh, no worries. I have family over there and you just go over there. I'll help your son get a student visa. And then my family over there will help you and figure out what to do. And I said, okay. So I got on an airplane and I flew on Lufthansa the first stretch from Portland or from my hometown to Chicago. And all the announcements were made in 3 languages. And I was totally fine. But then in Chicago, I changed over to American Airlines. And on that American Airline flights, all announcements were only made in English. And it hit me in the air, 30,000 feet. I said, what are you doing? And I grabbed my little son's hand who was sitting next to me. And I thought, how is this ever going to work? I don't understand one word people are saying, and I panicked. Well, to make a long story short, we landed in Portland, Oregon. My friend had helped me rent a little apartment, tiny little apartment. She helped me rent a car from Rent-A-Wreck, which had a huge oil stain on the driver's seat, but I couldn't complain about it because I didn't know how to talk to the guy. So I took every morning a newspaper that I found on the steps of our apartment complex, and I put it on the driver's seat so my clothing would not have oil stains on it. So I really started from scratch when I came over here, Max. It was pretty brutal because I had a really nice house in Germany. I had a very good lifestyle over there. I had a very flourishing business. And now to come over here, not being able to speak to anybody, being isolated, it was tough. But I wasn't going to go back because I had made a decision and I was going to make it work. So I learned that I could go to a college and take English as a second language for free. And my son learned English in school. So my son became my study buddy. We would learn vocabulary every single day together and quiz each other when we were driving in the car. And literally both of us learned the language one word at a time. Well, my foreign student advisor at the college talked me into turning my tourist visa into a student visa so I could stay here. But what I missed in translation was that I had to pay 3 times in-state tuition because I was not a resident. And I also missed in translation that I have to go to college full-time, 12 credit hours minimum, and I had to have a C or better, otherwise I would be deported. So I started my first semester here in the United States in college, and my foreign and student advisor had signed me up for college algebra, writing 121, chemistry and accounting for my first term. And the only 2 words I understood on my first day of college was plus and minus in my first algebra class. So I bought a tape recorder. I recorded all the lectures and then went home, translated with a dictionary my textbooks from English into German so I could understand what this was about, listened to the lectures on the tape recorder, and that's how I got in 5 years a master's degree in psychology. I ended up teaching and counseling at a college, and all the people who came to me, really when it came down to it, if it was depression or abuse situations where women could not get out of their marriage, the underlying cause seemed to always be financial stress. So I thought to myself, oh my God, if there was ever a way that I could help people with their finances, a lot of their health and mental health problems would go away. But I didn't know how to do it. I couldn't go home with them and teach them. And after 10 sessions or whatever, the insurance company wouldn't pay for counseling anymore, and I had to let them go. So my health was still not very good. And one day a nurse approached me with a product line that would help me with my health. I also learned that this was a network marketing company, but I had no idea what network marketing was. Nobody in Europe has ever told me about it. And I envisioned to have a business, you had to have what I had in Germany, brick and mortar and employees. So I was not at all interested when she mentioned the word business. I just said, no, that's not for me, never doing that again. So I used the product line, and I shared an office with a lady at the time at the college, and she was supposed to have knee replacement surgery. Well, she came in one morning crying, and I just said to her, hey, listen, I just learned about some natural stuff from a nurse. I don't know. I just started taking it. I don't notice anything, but who knows? It may help you faster than it helps me. Well, she said, whatever it is, I want it. So I said, I think what you need to do is you can call the company, tell them what you want, and I think they want my name. That's how much I knew about network marketing. So sure enough, Linda called the company, she got the product, she got on it, and within 2 weeks, her knees were back to normal, and Linda didn't need knee surgery for 10 more years. And I thought, oh my gosh, what is this all about? I can help people with their health and possibly their financing. I didn't know much about that one yet. So Linda became my spokesperson. She told everybody on college campus, and people would come to me and say, whatever you gave Linda, I want it. So that was my introduction to network marketing. Well, then I thought, maybe I should pay attention to what's going on here. And I called the company. I learned about a little bit, how I can get paid by referring people. And after about 6 months, my paycheck from that company was bigger than my paycheck from the college where I had to have a master's degree to teach. So then there was a convention, and you talked about events, Max. So my husband and I decided to fly to the first convention in my lifetime. We flew to Denver, Colorado, and I didn't really attend a lot of the events there. But the last day of the event was the owner of the company speaking. And I was curious who runs the ship. So my husband and I attended that dinner. And at the end of the owner's presentation, a very intriguing gentleman, he gave out the biggest award for the company. And that biggest award was for doing business with integrity. It wasn't for sales volume. It was for doing business with integrity. And my husband and I looked at each other and said, oh my God, this is different. So on the flight home, my husband and I decided that I would quit my job and focus on our network marketing business full time. So that was my introduction to network marketing.
Wow. Okay, so obviously you you did very, very well. What would you say you attributed your success in building that business?
Well, I'm a very logical thinker. So I decided that if I wanted to make more money with my network marketing business than I made teaching at the college 40 hours a week, I would have to at least put 40 hours a week into my own business. Then I thought about where can I go to get quickly into a target-rich environment. So I learned about Chamber of Commerce's, I learned about networking events. So I would get up every morning at 5, 6 o'clock, take a shower, get dressed professionally, and I would attend a network marketing event every morning, 5 days a week. And those network marketing events would have anywhere from, sometimes 10 people, sometimes 300 people. And I would meet as many people as I possibly could and collect all their business cards and ask every single one of them where else they go to promote their business. So many of them then took me to a networking luncheon. And at the networking luncheon, I did the same thing. I connected with as many people as possible, collected the business cards, and asked them, where else do you go to promote your business? And then they would many times take me to a chamber after hours event. So I would literally go 40 hours a week to networking events, and then of course follow up with people. Now this was all before the internet, right? So I would do all this even before cell phones. So I would do all this, then come home. I had marked my business cards with 1, 2, 3, the top players, the people I liked the most. And then I would follow up with them, and then I would set appointments to meet with them in person, right? Coffee appointment, lunch appointment. And I did that for 18 months. And after 18 months, and actually some of the people I met there, Rita Kwan, Mark, Tracy, those are people who are still with me, who I met during my time networking at those different events. And, then after 18 months, my team had grown to the point where I was able to now help my team and support my team and continue to grow our business. And so I made it to the second highest rank in my first company, the really hard way, in about less than 2 years. But it was a lot of work. And then I met you. And I actually met you through Chan Trahun. And Chan Trahun and I are still very good friends till today. So you then taught me that you can do business a lot smarter and don't have to work nearly as hard as I worked. And you really helped me get to the next level. And I remember we were doing Facebook seminars together. And again, I learned a lot from you during my personal coaching time with you, all the boot camps, the retreats. And then I turned around and taught my team. And that then helped me get to the highest rank in the company. Now, you have to know, our comp plan and our Me Too product was a very difficult build. And in 18 or 17 years of me being with a company, if I remember it right, only 8 people ever made it to the highest rank. And that tells you something right there. One of our biggest drawbacks were, of course, we did not have any online tools that were easily shareable, after we connected with people on social media. Well, I'm a very loyal person. And as you can tell, hard work does not scare me. So I stayed with the company. I was also on their advisory council. So I had quite a bit of insight on what was happening with the company. And for the last few years, I definitely knew that there were some fatal flaws that you had mentioned just today. And that this was not going on forever. So I had a mental blockage of inviting people into the company from the business aspect. The product line was superb. And like you were saying earlier, even though the company no longer has a network marketing component to it, most of the people that were on my team to this day are still purchasing the products, even though we no longer get paid to use them. So the product line was superb, still is to this day. And, the company just made a decision in December of 2020 to simply become a fulfillment center and have a website and collect customers and no longer pay their loyal leaders that have taken the company to the level where it was.
One of the things that you mentioned, for all of you that are listening is, again, you can run into a happy network marketer. They're happy with the product. They'll continue to take the product, especially if they're benefiting from it. But when you establish a relationship and a level of trust, and I love that line that you used when we talked about it, people move at the speed of trust. And when you show them a new business opportunity, you're not telling them to stop taking the product. You're just suggesting to them that the business model of network marketing will work better with what you're doing than what they're doing. And, and so you bring, people over to your new company and they're thrilled because now they're working. Now they've got somebody to work with. They've got, they're part of a group, they're part of a team. The reason that you have, people that stay with you, that follow you, is a testament, to who you are. George Ruiz has $2 million earners that he connected with, back in the AOL days, 18 years ago. And when he left USANA and he went over to Isagenix. They went with him. When he left Isagenix and he went over to Vasayo, they went with him. Wherever George would go, they would follow them. So what happened when did you decide to get back into, network marketing again, as far as, building a business?
Yeah. So, just so you know, Rita Kwan, who's with us today, was one of my $1 million earners. So, it was very exciting for myself to get into the $1 million club with our old company, but Rita Ta and several of our other leaders actually were in the $1 million club with us. And that was much more exciting to me than when we first got into the $1 million club. So, it's wonderful to be able to help people reach their goals. And Rita really did not have any background in network marketing. And, it was fun to learn together and grow together. Well, when we learned in December of 2020 that the company will no longer send us checks that we were used to, it was definitely a kick in the gut. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And, we were depressed and frustrated and disappointed. And, it was hard to take another look at something. But what had happened meantime, in April of 2020, my husband, who is a very, very active person, all of a sudden had severe knee pain. And my husband at the time was 74 years old. And, it was so bad, I had to help him get up from the table, out of a chair. He couldn't barely walk across the room. He couldn't drive at all. And it was devastating for me to see him like that. So we went to the doctor. The doctor suggested knee surgery, put him on heavy duty pain pills. And I remembered that a dear friend of mine had told me about a company based out of San Diego that had this little patch, and you put it on your body and it activates your very own stem cells. And like you were saying earlier, I was a bit skeptical, right? Could that really be? So my friend Jim had tried to recruit me into this company, of course, for several years. And I didn't take a look at it because I'm a very loyal person and I was going to stay with my company to the bitter end, which I wouldn't do again, by the way. And so I called Jim up and I said, Jim, listen, I remember you telling me about this little patch. Well, I want to put this on Bob. We can always do surgery later. So we did. We put this on my husband, and Max, I was just blown away. Within a very short amount of time, my husband was 100% pain-free, never had surgery. And just a couple months after he couldn't walk, he turned 75. And on his 75th birthday, we took him water skiing. And he barefoot water skied all day, wasn't sore, had no pain, did it again the next day. And it's been now over 2 years and he has not had a flare up and he hasn't taken as much as an aspirin. So talk about passion and belief in your company. Well, what happened to me, even though I was taking $1,000 worth on, the best nutritionals on the planet, I lost my hair, Max. I don't even know if I told you that. And I was devastated. I would not even take a phone call because I was terrified somebody would hit FaceTime. I didn't want to be around my kids. I for sure didn't want my grandkids to see me. I was depressed, isolated, frustrated. I went to all the doctors. They said, this happens when women get older. Thanks a lot. So I saw a video that, again, with these little patches, people get their hair back. I thought, okay, this is me. So I used the patches for that. And within about a few months, my hair grew back in. And I think you saw me lately. My hair is fully back, better and fuller than it's been in decades. So talk about being absolutely passionate about this company. Then, of course, you mentioned that everything goes and falls with the owner. So we drove 19 hours from our house to San Diego to meet with the executive team and learn everything we could learn about the owner. And we were blown away. This gentleman is not your typical network marketing company owner. He is kind, he's gentle, he's humble. It's not all about the money for him. And we really know that this time around, we are in excellent hands. So after we learned all this, I called first and foremost my dear friend Ta, who knows me for now almost 20 years and trusts me. You know, people move at the speed of trust. And Ta said, oh my God, if you learn about this, if this is a good thing, I'm in. So in September of 2020, Ta and I had a long conversation. We laid out a plan that we will give this business one more run. And we first and foremost laid out how we will support our team, because the only reason we were successful in other company was because we were 100% focused on taking personal responsibility for everybody who joined our team to help them become successful. We knew that was our formula. So we laid out a formula. We have a presentation every Monday morning at 11. We have a special training for our advanced leader every Monday night. We have a team training open to everybody on our team every Tuesday morning. We have a Q&A check-in about product every Wednesday afternoon. We have a Q&A check-in every Thursday afternoon for anybody who wants to build the business with us. And guess what? Every Friday afternoon, we help our team build their business on LinkedIn. So we are available 5 days a week, several times a day for our team. Our leaders have our cell phone numbers. They know how to reach us. We sometimes do personal Zooms with them for 5 a day with the same person, if that is what it takes to them to move forward. Marty Pineda is on our Zoom here today with you. You know, every one of them originally told me, I want the product. I will not ever build another business. So just so you know, that was every single conversation I had from every one of our team, or overall from the company that, you know, disappointed us. But then when people saw how well the product is working for them and their friends and family, you know, then people got curious. And then we started building the business together. So out of that, in 14 months, I was able to make it to the highest rank in our new company. And you have a lot to do with that, because you taught me in our Facebook trainings that we did 10 years ago, how to brand myself. And I continue to do what you taught me 10 years ago. And guess what? When our old company floundered, a lot of people came to me and said, oh my God, what are you going to do now? And by the way, I've been following you for 10 years and I've always wanted to work with you. And my gosh, this is the perfect opportunity for me to, you know, really team up with you and move forward. I know who you are. I've seen you work. I know, you know, your family, you've shared it with us on Facebook. And, you know, a lot of people came to me, and it was due to what I learned from you.
And how long did it take you when you got into the business to go back to reach the top in your new one?
14 months. 14 months. And then the company, by the way, has a phenomenal leadership program. You talked about that sometimes company pay leaders. They did not pay me. However, they have a leadership program where you can get certain perks from the company as you're going through the leadership program. It normally is a 3 months program. The company was so impressed with what I did that they actually allowed me to be in that leadership program for 6 months, which really did enable me to recreate my income from the other company very, very quickly. This company here also has a much better pay plan. We make about 3 times more money than we did in our old company for the same effort, which is very nice. And I love that the comp plan rewards the right behavior, which is all about helping our team and creating leaders that then will stay with you. So, you know, as much as it was a kick in the gut, it really was a blessing in disguise because we are in a much better place. We also have no competition. This time it's not a Me Too product where people can go to other companies and get something similar. People cannot go to a store and get something similar. Everything is patented and proprietary. So just from that perspective, it's been a lot easier. But like I said, having the name recognition that you helped me accomplish really made a huge difference the second time around. The company then also invited me to do some global trainings for the company because we are in almost 100 countries around the world. So I got a lot of recognition there. And the company now also chose 6 people from all of the United States, all of Canada, and all of Mexico to be on an advisory council and work directly with the president of the company and the vice president of the company. And I am also now on that council, which is phenomenal for me because the other 5 leaders have been with the company much, much longer than I have. And I get to learn a lot from them and draw from their experiences, which is, a huge gift.
That's really wonderful. Let me ask you a question. Does the company have any plans to expand to other countries?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes, we have several other countries on the drawing board. And of course, it's wonderful when you have a little bit of a heads up and, can be first to market in other countries and connect with people on LinkedIn and, kind of see if they are open to a huge opportunity, as it arises.